Welcome to today's Socratic seminar. We've got an interesting episode today. Before we begin, I'd like to thank ChrisCorps for sponsoring today's video. You can get your man beater from ChrisCorps now. First off, I'd like to welcome Shasta journalist and ChrisBall contributor Zack. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
We also have fellow ChrisBall contributor Daniel. Welcome.
Yeah, it's great to be on the show.
Zack, word from the birds tell me that you are convinced the Warriors will make the playoffs. Is that true?
I'm 100% on the side that the Warriors should not be tanking right now. We have potential. We have the potential for a deep bench, and we have some of the greatest shooters in the world. So we should not be tanking. We should be looking towards the playoffs and potentially the finals.
Daniel?
Yeah, so what I believe in is the Warriors do not have any sort of potential of making the NBA playoffs this season. I believe their bench is definitely not what it takes to even be a playoff contender. I believe that they should focus on tanking and getting a good draft pick for the off season, and possibly trade for D'Angelo trade D'Angelo Russell for someone good.
Okay. I disagree with your whole bench idea because I'd like to point out that currently all of our starters are injured, so our bench is our starters, and if we look at them and consider them as a bench player instead of a starter, all right, in the last game, Pascal, he shot 10 for 18 and then 10 for 13 from inside the three-point line. He scored 25 points. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists. That is a solid bench player, all right? That's some real bench talent where I would be happy to have that guy as a role player and as a bench player on my team. Now let's look at Kai Bowman. He is also a solid point guard as a bench role player, all right? Shot 6 for 11. He came up big with some important three-pointers down the stretch. Not only that, he had 7 rebounds as a point guard. Adding on to that, we have Glenn Robinson. He shot 6 for 12, 4 for 7 from 3, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Once again, another solid player who I would be happy to have on a bench team, especially if you consider that they will only grow as players moving forwards throughout the season. Plus, adding in Willie Cauley-Stein, 8 rebounds, 8 points, 4 for 7, 1 block, 1 steal. Those are solid bench points for a center, in my opinion. Then we also look at Damian Lee. It's 3 for 6 on 3-pointers, 13 points. He's young, he's inexperienced, but he's someone to look at. So I disagree with this idea that we have no bench.
Although I agree with you that these G League players do have substantial individual performance, like their statistics, but you have to take in the factor that yesterday they have played against the Charlotte Hornets, one of the worst teams of the NBA currently, as they are missing an all-star as well, and the only talent that they have is actually like Terry Rozier and Zeller. Those are the only real players that they have that actually have experience and talent. And also to say that yesterday both of them went under 90 points in the final score. That's one of the lowest scoring games for the Warriors this season, as most games they went over 100. This shows that if they were to play against any other team that actually had a really good core, for example, like a playoff team, even if it's an A seed, we're still looking at a blowout here, because definitely these bench players do not have what it takes to. These unexperienced bench players do not have what it takes to go against experienced bench players that have been in this league, even gone to championships before, and have been through a lot of experience. So that's why I disagree on the fact that although you say that this is a promising young core, that they could still make a playoff push.
That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying it's a promising bench. Right? Now, you got to remember, we scored 87 points without our starting 5. All right? We did not have Curry. We did not have D'Lo. We did not have Clay. We did not have Draymond. We did not have Looney. So we're talking about our starting 5, and we still had these players come off the bench and start, right? Our bench players were starters. Our third tier were bench players. Everyone moved up, and they did step up. Now, there were clear mistakes that were made, but at the end of the day, that's because we had none of our starters. We're going to get Draymond back. We're going to get D'Lo back. We're going to get Steph back. We will get Looney back, and we potentially could get Clay back. But even if we don't get Clay, those are still 4 players. We have the best shooter of all time, all right? We have Draymond Green, who's key to our offense. We have Looney, who last year provided great numbers for us. He hasn't been able to play this year due to injury, but he will come back. And we have D'Lo, who's a young up-and-comer who is a great shooter, a great player, you know? So, like, I disagree with this idea that we can't win games, because you got to remember, we scored 87 points, yes, but we did it without arguably the 5 best players on our team. And
All right, let's put this into perspective. Let's put this into perspective. So, Steph Curry, as we know, has a broken left hand, and he will not be coming back at least by All-Star break. And that's not even a guaranteed day when he's coming back, because that's the day that he's going to get reevaluated for then a future decision of when he's actually going to come back into regular games. So, put that into perspective. For most of the season, we're going to be seeing the only 2 players, the 2 players or 3 players that you have mentioned, Kevon Looney, D'Angelo Russell, and Draymond Green. Draymond Green should not have been paid a max contract because he is currently underperforming. He was underperforming last season. He stepped up a lot in the finals and the playoffs, but throughout the regular season, he was really suffering. The Warriors should not have signed $100 million for him. D'Angelo Russell was originally not something that the Warriors wanted to invest in for a long term, as they wanted to keep him around until Klay Thompson would come back into the game and then finally make a playoff push and the finals push eventually. With Steph Curry going down, there's a complete shift in what the Warriors would probably want to do right now. Best option for the Warriors currently is to up D'Angelo Russell's trade worth by letting him play in the game, letting him do what he does, which is leading his team as he did with the Brooklyn Nets last season. We've seen that he does not play well with Steph Curry. He had the worst plus-minus differential in the first 5 games of the Warriors. The Warriors were overall blown out, I believe, by 74 points by all the teams. Like, combine all the difference of the scores of the games that the Warriors played with D'Angelo Russell on the court. So overall, D'Angelo Russell is not very productive to the Warriors' offense. That is why it's important to get his trade worth up, so that at least when the offseason comes, the Warriors can receive someone who is much more valuable and important for the Warriors than himself. Also, speaking on the topic of who else I mentioned, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson should if the Warriors are at the state they are right now, I still think they should stat pad D'Angelo Russell so that he gets his work, and therefore make the most time that the Warriors can to rest Klay Thompson, that he comes back to the next season completely healthy. Usually the injuries that he has last only about a year. So saying that he was going to come back for the NBA playoffs is a very risky thing, and it's much more safer to rest him for the whole year. So this is why it's a good idea to just throw this year away and have them tank so that they can get a good draft pick and maybe trade for someone with more value than D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, so I want to discuss 2 things: the D'Lo trade and good draft pick. So a D'Lo trade, I'm actually with you on that. However, I think we should trade before the trade deadline. All right. And yes, I want D'Lo to start playing well, but I don't want the Warriors to just stat pad him to make him look good. I want him to play well so we win. All right. We paid him a lot of money, so I want him to live up to what we paid him and start winning games for us. All right. But I want to trade him at the trade deadline, because you're right, he isn't playing that great with Steph, and he doesn't fit into our system that amazingly. And I think we can trade him for a starter caliber small forward. That's what we need. We don't need an all-star. We don't need some amazing player. We just need a good role-playing small forward who can get rebounds, stretch the floor, and play defense. All right, that's what we need.
Right, but currently in the NBA, there's definitely not a team that would be considering receiving D'Angelo Russell and giving up their star small forward. There are not that many small forwards
You just
currently that are all.
missed the whole thing. I literally just said we don't need a star. We just need a role player, and that could be off someone's bench.
Yes,
Player.
and that's not that would be a waste of a trade because you could gain value. First of all, gaining wins is the opposite of tanking, which means the Warriors are not going to get a good draft pick. It would be much more wiser to get a really good draft pick so that we would be strong next season. And trading D'Lo during the off season so that we could sign some good free agents if there are any. We don't need core bench players or good just solid small forwards for an all-star. D'Angelo Russell is an all-star. He's at that level already. He's developing and he's going to become a superstar in the next 5 years. That is guaranteed. So utilizing D'Angelo Russell for such a low like receiving such low like ranked players.
You're not just getting one player, all right? I would also want to trade and get another. Obviously, you'd be getting a shooting guard as well, all right? You'd be getting, and I don't think you necessarily need a starting caliber shooting guard because we actually do have some decent shooting guards. That, like I said, like Glenn Robinson, he did really well. Kai Bowman, even though he's a point guard, you could potentially have him shift over to shooting guard, all right? Because we did see that in last night's game. So you're not just trading D'Lo for one small forward. You'd be trading D'Lo for a package, all right? Like, that's how trades work.
Right. But, like, let's think about how that would turn out for the Warriors. So we get a package full of these good role players, maybe even solid, scorers, whatever. It doesn't matter. Not all-stars, but still really good players. Fit that into what the Warriors already have. They already have a really young and big bench. It's not like their bench is currently small anyway. So that means, first of all, we'd probably have to cut some players that are currently in our lineup right now.
Yeah, sure.
And that actually kind of undermines what you were talking about at the bench because you said it's good to have a young bench.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? Like, you gotta remember, Curry will come back, all right? Looney's gonna be there, and that means our bench is gonna get deeper.
Right, but the question also is the fact that when Curry comes back, will it already be too late? Because by the time it's All-Star break, the Warriors could by far be the 15th seed of the Western Conference, having a really awful losing record. And even if Steph Curry goes insane in the last stretch of the season, best chances are most likely a tied record, which still in a very competitive Western Conference is very, very rare to have a team who's at .500 percentage to actually make it into the NBA playoffs.
You're completely. We have Draymond Green, all right. We will have Looney, and Looney is going to be a game changer, all right. We have lost 2 games because of lack of rebounding. You know what Looney brings? He brings rebounding, all right? So we're going to get Looney back. We will get Draymond back. And regardless of whether we trade D'Lo, we're going to get D'Lo back, all right? So we're going to get players who can be there. And like I've been saying, we have a bench, all right? We have players who could fit as a bench. So we're going to get our starters back. And with our bench, it's going to be okay. We're not going to have some stellar record, but we're going to be in a place where once we get Curry back, we can make a playoff push and maybe get somewhere from the 8th to 6th seed, all right? And from that point on, we see what happens. But if Clay is ready to come back, you put Clay in and we make a playoff push. We make a finals push because the Warriors have the talent to do so.
Yes, but we're already seeing a team where the Warriors had that kind of lineup that you were talking about, a Curless team, but still with the All-Star Draymond Green and D'Angelo Russell. They played against the San Antonio Spurs, but the San Antonio Spurs are a very respectable team, but they're much different from what they were before. They are, from 5 years ago. Currently, they have 2 All-Stars, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, and a really young and mixed bench of core players, and they blow out the Warriors 127-110. This is still regardless of D'Angelo Russell scoring 30 points.
Did you watch that game, Daniel? Daniel, did you watch that game?
Yes, I watched that game.
It was close for the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, it got blown away. And you know why? Rebounding. And you know who we're gonna get? We're gonna get Looney back, and Looney's gonna
Yes,
fix
but
that
your
rebounding problem.
argument is that Kevon Looney is going to emerge as like a star in a sense. Even
No,
that's
he's
what you're
going to
trying to
fill a
say.
role. He's going to fill a role, and the role
Last
he needs
season, in the
is
80 games he
rebounding.
has played, he's averaged only 5.2 rebounds a game, 6.3 points, 1.5 assists, and even under 1 block. He is a solid bench player, but he's nothing close so far to evolving into a core rebounder that will average maybe even up close to at least like 8 rebounds a game. I just do not see that happening with Kevon Looney. I see that with Willie Cauley-Stein more than I see with Kevon Looney.
Well, there you go. In situations where we need
But
rebounding, we still have Willie Cauley-Stein. Add in.
But
Looney,
Willie
and
Cauley-Stein
we'll
is
have
meant to be a
rebounding.
rim protector more than a rebounder. That is the way Willie Cauley-Stein plays. That is
Well,
not.
then he's rim protecting, and he gets out of
There are
position
still
because he's
many
trying to block a shot.
that
You got
there are
Looney.
still many teams that exist that could out rebound the Warriors and just completely dominate the Warriors with the size that they have, such as the Lakers, such as the Mavericks, and the 76ers. And I can list a lot of other teams that can completely dominate the Warriors because they're playing way too much small ball, and this season is not going to work out for the Warriors, which is why
Hey.
it's smart to.
I had to cut it short, but we're running out of time. Final thoughts, Zach?
I'm gonna stick with what I've been saying. All right, Warriors need to make a finals push. We have the talent, we have the bench, we have the starters. All right, if we want, we can trade D'Lo, but that's not necessarily what we need to do. We need to keep going, keep pushing for that finals. We can still win it.
Daniel?
I'm still gonna keep to what I said. I understand Zach's point of views when he believes that the lineup that currently exists for the Warriors is enough to make a playoff push, and then once we get Klay Thompson back, Curry back, we're gonna make a finals push. I understand how he could think it's a possibility, but with the competition that we have currently in our conference and in the NBA overall, I do not see these Warriors having a winning record until Curry comes back. Therefore, I believe it's much more not risky. It's not as risky to just tank and prepare for the next season to definitely make a finals push instead of this season and risking a lot more.
And so, just final question here, Zach. Where do you think the Warriors will finish this season?
I can't really say games right now. I'd say they'd probably somewhere around 500. I'd like to think that they'd be above 500, but I could see them being slightly below 500. So just somewhere around 500, and I think they're going to make it in as the 7th or 8th seed.
Daniel, do you agree with that?
I agree that they might be actually close to 500. As I mentioned in my previous arguments, it's a possibility. If Curry comes back, they might reach to a .500 team. But I still believe that's not enough to get into the playoffs, as most teams, from what we've seen before in playoff appearances, have an over 500 .500 to actually reach the 8th seed, and it's very, very challenging for a team with just .500 or even less to get into the playoffs. I believe that's not enough to get into the playoffs, as most teams, from what we've seen before in playoff appearances, have an over 500 .500 to actually reach the 8th seed, and it's very, very challenging for a team with just .500 or even less to get into the playoffs.
Thank you, Zachary and Daniel, for coming on the show. Thank you once again to ChrisBall and the critically acclaimed Man Beater. It's averaged a 4.8 star rating, and I have got to say the thing's handy and very practical. That wraps up today's Socratic seminar. We hope that all of y'all have enjoyed, and we will see you next time.